to also welcome our viewers at home who are watching the meeting via the live stream tonight. Thank you. Could I ask you all please to be upstanding? Deputy Mayor Migdale, could you please read the opening prayer? Obviously not. Count. In fairness to the Deputy Mayor, I am still 1 minute early.
Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times, and we ask all of this in your name.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Councillor Giudice, could you please read the acknowledgement of country?
Yes, with pleasure. On behalf of councillors, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respects for elders, past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can take your seats. Without prior approval, any recording of this meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the city being received. That brings us to the official opening. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare the council meeting of the 30th of April 2024 open at 6:30 p.m. Item 2, apologies. I do have apologies tonight from Councillor Tony Kristovich, from Councillor Elizabeth Ree and from Councillor Lisa Thornton. 3, approved leave of absence. I have nil. 4, disclosures of interest. There were 7 disclosures from the Community and Resource Committee meeting held on the 23rd of April 2024, which are listed in tonight's agenda and are displayed on the screen behind me. Councillors, are there any other disclosures at the moment for this evening? Councillor Dudek. While councillors searching for that, I'll announce that Councillor David Lagan has one for 13.2 on the proposed Chester Avenue and Impartial, as he has met with local residents on a number of occasions, and Councillor Olo on 13.2 Chester Avenue Impartial, as she is a JDAP member. And Councillor Suzanne Migdale on 13.2, as she is also a JDAP member. Councillor Dudek.
Yeah, if I can just declare on 13.2 as well, as the applicant is known to me. Impartial.
Thank you. Are there any other disclosures? Not at the moment. We'll go on to item 5, petitions. Item 5.1, Councillor Ferrante, would you like to table the petition related to the Park Private Hospital, please?
Absolutely, Mr Mayor. The petition is no parking on the nature strip at all times implemented on the council verge of the Park Private Hospital. The following petition contains 31 verified signatures, has been received by the city. We, the undersized, do respectfully request that the council implement no parking on the nature strip at all times for the council verge of 14 Elvin Street and Park Road, Mount Lawley, ergo the Park Private Hospital, the Park, as soon as practical. Reasoning, the nature strip verge on 14 Elvin Street, which encompasses a stretch of Elvin Street and Park Road to Judge Lane, is of subpar appearance and therefore not in keeping with the area due to the neglect to maintain the grass and preserve the trees by the owners operators of the park. A significant share of both have obviously died. By restricting the parking on this verge site would ideally motivate the park operators to remedy this neglect, or at the very least encourage the nature strip to recover without the constant parking burden. I so moved.
Thank you. And item 5.2, Councillor Papard, would you like to table the petition related to the beach tennis?
Yes, I would, Mr Mayor. Thank you very much. The following e-petition containing 10 verified signatures was received by the city. We, the undersigned, do respectfully request that the council halt the operation of the beach tennis club on Deanmore Road immediately due to ongoing sound and light exceedances negatively impacting our home lives.
Thank you. Are there any unverified petitions this evening? If not, can I have a mover and a seconder for the petitions? Councillor Perkov and Councillor Olo is seconding. And just a show of hands to accept those petitions this evening, councillors. That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 6, responses to previous questions from members of the public taken on notice. And those public question time responses from the last council meeting were published in the minutes of that meeting. It brings us to item 7, which is public question time. So I'll now move on to public question time. Mr Wheeler, if you'd like to come forward to start us off, please. you, Mr Wheeler, and turn it on, and your name and suburb.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors, staff from the gallery. Simon Wheeler, Scarborough. My questions are all in regard to the handling of the motions from the EGM. Councillors, officer comments to motion 9.13 requesting the city set a 30% canopy target fail entirely to note that 30% is the current WALGA policy position, not just some number I pulled out of a dark, shady place. It's an almost universally accepted minimum requirement to provide for healthy and livable urban environments in Australia, if not worldwide. The report continues to state that the city has a canopy target of 18% and that there is no plan to change this target. I know there's no plan to change the target, otherwise the question wouldn't have been raised. And the WALGA position, councillors, postdates that 2019 policy. The recommendation requests instead that council affirm a policy that it itself accepts, to a large part through no fault of its own, has not worked in the past, does not work now, and will not work in the future. So to say we have a policy for that, it's broken, but let's just keep calm and carry on up the Khyber, it's just not good enough. And those comments should be dismissed out of hand. The question asked of council is determine what our canopy target should be in line with the best available advice, not what it thinks is the best it can manage. And if the city is to base its strategic future planning and policy around erroneous figures picked to satisfy KPIs, the best that it can produce is garbage in, garbage out. 30% in the current political climate, at least on private property, is as unachievable as the current 18% target. I've lost myself.
You were getting to a question, Mr Wheeler.
I was very close to one. Councillors, I'm not asking you to engage in some virtue signalling or anything like that, but in the prudent exercise of stating and setting the minimum standards required to provide for the health, amenity and good governance of the district. And I'm hoping that councillors will ask the question tonight, among other things, as to why WALGA's policy position was not part of the report on this item. So it's more of a statement.
I gather that. Thank you for that statement. Question, Mr Wheeler, and obviously that item does form part of the agenda this evening, will be considered with the other Elector general motions that have been put.
Thank you. A question aside from these, Mayor Irwin, are the matters that are in the Elector's motion subject to disclosures of interest?
Yes?
Yeah, yep. Okay, fair enough. To motion 9.12/5, requesting disclosure of political or group affiliations by elected members, the report notes that 5 years ago, changes to the Code of Conduct via Councillor Proud's motion were not supported by Council. The report continues in not noting that only 11 councillors voted on that item in 2019 and that 4 of them are no longer elected members. So it's entirely unclear if that decision represents the views of the current council. I mean, I think I have a good idea. Nonetheless, councillors would have to have been living in a cave to be unaware of significant public interest in this question statewide, not just in Stirling. And I therefore ask if council will consider some alternative motion to the officer recommendation or request that this matter be deferred to some later meeting accompanied by a report that is fit for purpose, because I think after 5 years and with several new elected members, it's not that unfair to ask again.
Thank you for that question, Mr Wheeler. And again, that item does form part of those motions from the Electors' General Meeting. It's entirely up to Council whether either this evening they pull items out of that and move an alternative recommendation, or in fact, if they get passed tonight and in future, whether it be a week or 6 months down the track, choose to act on those motions.
And that's also why I asked about disclosures, because at that previous vote, all the members of political parties made a disclosure that they were a member of a political party, and I wasn't sure if that would apply to this motion.
That would have to be up to councillors tonight, but I wouldn't think they're determining that motion tonight.
Thank you. Councillors, my questions have referenced a few of several what I consider sophist arguments and content-free statements to be discovered in tonight's agenda. Reports of the type that I had some hope had been consigned to history at Stirling. So my question through the chair to the CEO is, Mr. CEO, are you happy with the balance shown in the officer reports? Do you think improvements are necessary? And if so, what measures can be put in place to remediate such concerns?
Have you got specific concerns you would like to highlight, Mr. Wheeler, to make it?
Well, I've already covered 3 of them, and there's more in the agenda, but how long have we got?
Right.
Okay, you want to...
No, it's just if there was something specific. Otherwise, I'm sure Mr. Rodich will have to respond to you in writing.
Well, I think I've raised a couple of
I'll go to Mr. Rodich now
points
for a
there.
response.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Wheeler, thanks for the question. Look, as a CEO, I've gone through every officer comment and recommendation, and I'm comfortable with those put forward through tonight's meeting.
So you're happy with the state of the reports?
That was the answer, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Robert Madden.
Good evening, Mayor Owen, councillors, gallery.
And just your name and suburb to start, Mr. Madden.
Robert Madden, Inaloo.
Thank you.
My questions are regarding the motions before council tonight regarding cat containment in the city. And I just want to say to start with that we thank the city for considering our motions and additionally for discussing further with us the city's plans recently, Mr. Quirk, Mr. Mullins in particular. And certainly we're encouraged by some of the forward planning that was indicated to us in that conversation. We were a little surprised, though, to be seeing that, and forgive me for not being able to reference the exact motions on the agenda tonight, but despite the strong response from the recent surveys that the city have received, where we had put the motion forward to contact the new Minister for Local Government with regards to cat containment, the city appears to be recommending not to write that letter. It seems to us as though there is no drawback to writing this letter. It's a new minister, and this new minister seems sympathetic towards the cause that we're pushing for. So we're asking for more clarity on why the recommendation is being put to council that they don't write this letter.
Thank you. Mr. Quirk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question, Mr. Madden. As you're aware, as a result of the motion last year, we did write to the Minister, and whilst it is acknowledged that the Minister has changed, we've engaged with the department. Our understanding is that the government's position is the same, and therefore writing to the Minister we would expect exactly the same response, which is that a statutory review of the Act will take place sometime after 2024.
Okay, thank you. And secondly, surrounding this, whilst we wait for the June recommendations to the review of the local law, what improved and proactive education strategies are the city seeking to employ to ensure better outcomes for pet, social and animal welfare in the city?
Thank you. Mr. Quirk. Mr. Mullins.
Thank you, Mayor Aaron, and thank you, Mr. Madden. Look, I guess from our perspective, our aim is to definitely increase cat registrations. We are certainly aware that the registration numbers are significantly lower than what the census data is telling us. We're doing a variety of things through education campaigns, subsidised sterilisation, registration and microchipping. It's not as well as a take-up as we would like, but we are continuing with those efforts as well as other marketing campaigns through social media, and we'll be conducting more activities at our annual Possum Day Out as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. John McGrath, if you'd like to come up. Again, just start with your name and suburb, please, and then your first question.
John McGrath, Morley. Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to listen and act upon our concerns at the Okine Bowling Club. I am the president of the Okine Bowling Club. Firstly, I've got a little bit of a preamble. It won't take long, so I hope you'll just bear with me. You'll get to understand what I'm talking about. Approximately 18 months ago, our club, along with councillors, had a meeting to get ideas of how we can make our club financial. We're not going well. The councillors suggested that we look outside to outside organisations which will be able to lease our D green, which is not in use. The council gave us several names and suggested we contact them. I made contact with an organisation called Paddle Perth, which were quite eager to discuss opportunities. Paddle Perth called to our club to look over the area we're offering. They were quite enthusiastic about setting up a paddleball centre on our D and E greens. After 12 long months of meeting and discussions, Paddle Perth put a proposal to ourselves where they would build a paddleball centre at our club. This centre would cost approximately $2 million. It will be the biggest paddleball centre in Australia. It would include 3 outdoor courts and 6 undercover courts. The undercover court portion would also include a gymnasium, coffee lounge and Pilates centre. This would attract the community, people in the community to our club in bounds, I believe. Paddleball were going to cover the costs of the building, so the council were up for nothing, and they would pay us a rental of $35,000 a year. We discussed this proposal with Mr. Tony Giggs, who at that stage was the service lead, Active Communities, Recreation and Leisure Services. He, along with other members of the council, were very supportive and encouraged us to pursue this matter. I have spent, as I said, in excess of 12 months on this proposal, along with Paddle Perth, who also spent 12 months plus their costs of plans and surveyors. Approximately 4 months ago, at a meeting with the council, we were advised that as the land was A-class reserve, this proposal would have to be approved by the state government, and it was very unlikely that they would approve such a motion. Approximately 2 months ago, in a casual discussion with the president of the Dalkeith Bowling Club, he advised me that Paddle Perth were building a smaller 3-court complex on their grounds, and the pads had already been laid and the approval has been granted, even though their land rating is the same as Yokon's. Further discussions I had with the state government, I was advised that they were told by the City of Stirling that the City of Stirling did not want this proposal. 12 months later down the track, probably 18 months later down the track. My question to the council is, if you did not want the proposal to happen, why encourage us in such a manner that we would proceed with it, wasting time and effort, not just for self, but paddleball and costs and everything else?
I'll get a response for you. Mr. Quirk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question, Mr. McGrath. I can certainly let you know that the city did not make a statement that we do not want paddle. Indeed, we were the ones who made contact with paddle in the first place. Certainly, we understand that Yokine Bowling Club, like many of our bowling clubs, have an uncertain future, and therefore we want to work with all clubs, including your own, to make sure you're sustainable moving forward. The key challenge we identified with paddle is that because of the nature of the land holding, there is no guarantee that the city, let alone the club, would receive any of the lease revenue because paddle is seen as a commercial venture. As you're aware, there's another proposal that should remain confidential at this stage that we are working on. That is an option because it's not commercial in nature, we think is a much better option to pursue and something we'll continue to talk to the club about.
That's 5 years away and we don't know if it's going to last 5 years. It's that simple for us. I really just can't understand why, if Paddle Perth were going to build the building, no cost to the council, it was going to be a community thing, attract people to the club, why this was not a viable proposition. Now, it just doesn't gel with me at all. And last but not least, Dalkeith, Netherlands, same grading as us, yet theirs has been approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Sorry, Mr. McGrath. I was looking at the next one. Mr. Whitehead, you're up next. And just as you get up there, I will just rule, we've just passed the public question time 15 minutes, so I'll rule to extend public question time to answer a further 3 lots of questions.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just firstly, I'd like to say I don't look anything like John McGrath.
No, apologies.
Thankfully.
Just your name and suburb to start.
Phil Whitehead from Dianella. Yokine Bowls Club requests that the council confirm that the funding for the upgrade and refurbishment of the toilets at Yokine Bowls Club has been adequately included within the council budget for the financial year 2024-25, and that the relevant departments have commenced working on this work with a view to having them completed within a reasonable but expedient time frame during our pennant off-season from now until October 2024.
Thank you. Mr Quirk.
Concise.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, Mr Whitehead, I can confirm that funding has been listed in the draft 24-25 budget. That does still need to be considered and adopted by council, but all going well, those works will happen next year, and indeed officers from both our recreation and FPA departments were on site at the club last week.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for that question. And Mr McGrath, Mr Whitehead, we will organise through the director and myself and the councillors to come out and see you maybe this week and just continue that discussion, I think. Sounds like we need to have a bit more of a chat.
Thank you.
Ching Yu. Thank you. And just your name and suburb to start, and then your questions, please.
Yep. Good evening, Cheng Hui from Yokine. I have questions regarding DA 23/088339 Chester Avenue.
Thank you.
Yep. The first question is regarding whether the planners agree that the advertised site doesn't show the revised submission and that the site is not positioned to meet the WAPC requirements of being in a prominent position within half a meter of the property boundary and clearly visible.
Thank you. Ms Lambaka.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you, and thank you for the question. So officers review the signage details before the developer installs them on site. That includes the intended location. So officers did review that through both consultation processes and were satisfied with those details in that location.
Thank you. So the officers are satisfied with that sign?
Yep. Second question is still regarding the revision plan, because apparently the first and second floor between the primary school right next to it is still being divided by trees. So let's say after all the apartments being sold to the owners, then that will be the owner's responsibility. And let's say if those trees died, then apparently the parents of the primary school, they will need to deal with that with the owners. So is there any way that the council will be able to address this with the developer?
Thank you. Ms Lambaka.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the question. So the compliance requirements, so the city would be able to enforce that. So maintenance of the trees in perpetuity would be a condition of approval. So that is something that the city would get involved in.
So yes, the city would be involved in ensuring their compliance throughout the life.
But sorry, my third question is it possible for the developer to rise up the fence?
Ms Lambaka.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question. Do you mean the dividing fence between the two properties?
Yes, that's correct.
That could be something that's considered if both parties agree, separate to the development application process. So it's a civil requirement, separate to, I suppose, this application, but it can be something that the city can consider.
Oh, okay.
And we can share that information with the developer and ask them and get back to you on it.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Thank you. Roland Hadley.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. On behalf of the Ewan Street Community Group, we recently contacted the manager of projects, Ms. Wollstonecroft, seeking the names of the experts who are completing this long-awaited trackless tram report. As no reply has been received, can anyone in the City of Stirling provide this information?
Thank you. Ms Walsencroft.
Thanks for the question, Mr Hadley, and through you, Mr Mayor. Mr Hadley, I have replied to your email. I'm sorry, it was just this afternoon. But SMEC are the consultancy that are working with us on the trackless tram business case.
Okay, any idea when exactly we expect this?
Ms Walsencroft.
We are hoping for it to be finalised by the end of this financial year.
Thank you. The Federal Government Treasury Department acquit all expenditure by the 1st of June. Therefore, will ratepayers see a complete comprehensive list of the council, will see a complete comprehensive list on the council agenda at the next meeting for your trackless tram?
Yes, Ms Walsencroft.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and Mr Hadley, for that question. Not by the next council meeting, we won't. The acquittal will be done once the business case project is complete and then provided to the federal government as part of the acquittal of the grant that we received.
Thank you. Third question. Mayor Mark Irwin, why did you seek in the City of Stirling April edition votes for the city to win a gong in some obscure local government award for your future trackless tram project? Ratepayers noticed, however, that there was no provision to record no. We do not support the Mayor's desperate measure to salvage support for this costly fiasco.
Thank you for that question, Mr Hadley. It's a local government of Australia association, and the awards are run every year, so it is quite well known throughout Australia. I am happy to pass on your vote of recording no for that, but it is not us running the awards, Mr Hadley.
Was there no provision? Why was there no provision in your monthly edition?
Because we don't run the voting for it.
But you're asking ratepayers to vote for it, but nothing else. Thank you.
We're passing on the Local Government Association voting requirements. Roger Christovaro.
Hi, good evening. My name is Roger Christovaro and I'm from Indaloo. So just a little bit about my background. I've lived overseas for the last 25 years, 23 in Taiwan and 2 years in China. And I have to say that I was quite appreciative of my experience there. Having said that, what I noticed is that there was a lot of garbage in those two countries. And coming back 2 years ago, I was quite surprised by the amount of garbage that's here in the... I'm sorry. I was quite surprised by the amount of garbage that we have along the footpaths and other places around here. So I don't know who I should address this question to.
Thank you. Just address it to me, sir.
Okay. So I have a few places that I've mapped out that I'd like the council to send people out there to have a look and take care of this garbage.
Thank you. So we're happy to take those on board. I'll get someone from governance when you sit down to come and get the list off you. But we're happy to come and help you out with that. We acknowledge there is a lot of illegal dumping in specific areas at the moment. It is one of the scourges in local government areas. There's provisions for it to be picked up, for bins to be supplied, etc., and tip passes, but there is a lot of illegal dumping and the city will manage those.
Yeah, it's quite a vast amount of garbage, and I'm just concerned because I actually go around and pick up garbage by myself, but it's impossible that I can pick up that much garbage.
No, we're happy to send someone out to do that for you.
Yeah, and also second question is Westfield Indaloo. What I've noticed is that along Scarborough Beach Road, there's a bus stop, and Coles and Woolworths, like people take out their trolleys and just throw them around everywhere. And I've raised this with Coles many a times, and I even wrote to the group that manages at Westfield Indaloo, and I've gotten no response at all from them. And so if you go up to the bus stop, you'll see like trolleys around there and heaps of garbage. Now, I don't know the demarcation, like who should be responsible for that, but, you know, I believe that the council should make those people accountable, Westfield and Coles. They can't run around like cowboys and do whatever they want.
You have many nods of agreement around the table here. It is a bane of our existence, shopping trolleys. I'll get Mr Mullins. We are actively working on this at the moment. Mr Mullins will have some information for you.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thanks.
And we'll get you some response. Mr Mullins.
Thank you for the question. In regards to shopping trolleys, it is certainly something that is a priority for us as officers and for this council. So we are looking at ways of holding the retailers to account more, strengthening our local laws as well too to make it more of a deterrent penalty, and utilising our 24/7 community patrol service to just get ahead of it so that we know where they are and we can look at methods to enforce or impound them so that we can sort of make a bit of an impact with the retailers. So it is the way the legislation is currently built, it does rely on the goodwill of retailers to do the right thing, but fair to say, not just in Innaloo, in other areas within the City of Stirling, we have an issue with it. So we are focusing efforts on trying to bring it to a more reasonable level and I guess basically have trolleys either collected or contained within their property. So the intention being a local law change needs to happen and we will bring that back to Council for consideration as soon as possible.
Right. Can I suggest that from my experience in Taiwan, they actually you have to put coins inside it in order to take out a trolley, whether it's $2, $3, in order for you to get your money back. So, I mean, there are other ways to do this, but, you know, I think you should see what other countries are doing as well.
We agree totally.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Thank you. That's all I have on my list. Have I missed anyone? Is there anyone not recorded? If not, we will progress on. And I'll go to 8 applications for leave of absence. Councillor Tony Kristovich has requested a leave of absence for the 30th of April 2024. Councillor Andrea Corrado has requested a leave of absence for the 11th of June 2024. Councillors, are there any other requests for a leave of absence this evening? No indication. So if I could have a mover and a seconder for the leave of absence. Move Councillor Lagan, seconded Councillor Papard. Just a show of hands, councillors, just for the leave of absences. That's unanimous, thank you. Item 9, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I have a mover and a seconder to accept the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 26th of March 2024? Move Deputy Mayor Migdal, seconded Councillor Giudice, and a show of hands to accept those minutes. That is unanimous, thank you, councillors. Announcements by the presiding member. I have nil, but I will ask Councillor Papard. I believe you have a quick one for us.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I had the pleasure on Saturday of attending an Anzac Day tribute at the North Beach Football Club, and they played Scarborough. It was a very thrilling game, but the club also appreciated the council's contribution towards their new scoreboard, and they presented us, along with Councillor Kristicevic and Councillor Perkov was there as well. And the actual award is in appreciation for participating in the designing, manufacturing and installation of our electronic scoreboard 2024. And there's a lovely picture of the scoreboard right there. And it is a magnificent scoreboard. I'm told that they could be watching movies there as well, bring the primary schools in, do fundraisers, which will be fantastic. So it'll be utilised off-season as well. So just want to present that to the council on behalf of the club. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor, and we'll get that off you when you've cleaned all your fingerprints off the acrylic
Can I
for us.
just one more thing? Councillor Hatton was there as well.
Yes. Thank you. Item 11, unresolved business from previous meetings. I have nil. Now I'll go to item 12, which is reports and recommendations of committee. Councillors, will deal with the items from the Community and Resource Committee meeting. They're listed below. If I could ask if anyone would like to pull out any of those items that are listed, if you could let me know. Councillor Lagan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. 12.1 RL1.
The upgrades to club rooms? Yes. Thank you. Are there any others that you wish to pull out? Councillor Proud? The FOGO, thank you. Are there any others you wish to pull out? No indication, so I will go to item 12.1 RL1, the upgrades to club rooms for female players. Councillor Perkov as chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mayor Irwin. I'm happy to move the recommendation from the committee on page 93. Sorry, I couldn't find it. Yeah, page 93.
Thank you. And is there a seconder for the recommendation? Deputy Mayor Migdale, thank you. Councillor Lagan, do you just have a question or do you like to debate?
No, I'm happy to debate.
Thank you. Councillor Perkov?
I'm happy to pass on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Migdale?
I feel like this has already been discussed robustly enough, and very happy to support committee's recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm also supportive of the general oversight of the recommendation in the committee, but it should be noted that I voted against the third section of the recommendation, which was the city part funding to seek funding. The reason I voted against it and wanted to mention was that if I check on the Federal Government Department of Health and Aged Care website, there is an information sheet on the Play Our Way program to which the federal government is providing $200 million. That funding can be sought for competitive grant opportunities by local government, community organisations and not-for-profit organisations. And my reason for voting against it, which I wanted to note tonight, was it's my opinion that the federal government needs to do more than just talk the talk, it needs to walk the walk. If they want to fund female change rooms, which I support, then they need to fund the large councils that seek that funding. They need to do that as soon as we apply, because it's obvious that we can put that measure on the ground and we can actually build and help build the change rooms.
Thank you for that. I will just get Mr. Quirk, if you'd just like to provide some, I know there's a backstory to the reason for it, so I'll get Mr. Quirk to provide a bit of comment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, Councillor Lagan is correct that the federal government has announced this $200 million commitment, albeit it should be noted that that commitment is nationwide. It's over 3 years and it's across 2 streams. So yes, $200 million is a lot of money, but this will be a highly competitive grant program. As I discussed at committee, there is absolutely no obligation for council to make a co-contribution, but we know from our experience in applying for both federal and state government grants that co-contributions are definitely looked upon favourably. And I will just quote the Play Your Way guidelines, which state, whilst no minimum contribution is required, co-contribution arrangements are strongly encouraged and in most instances required for larger scale projects and will be viewed favourably during the grant assessment process.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lagan, are you happy or did you need to add
No,
anything?
happy with that response. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any other councillors who wish to debate this item? If not, I will go back to Councillor Perkov if you'd like to close debate.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing further to add to that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan, did you want me to put these separately again? Sorry, I should have checked when you were...
No,
No,
no need.
Great. Thanks. In that case, it's moved Councillor Perkov, seconded Deputy Mayor Migdale, and I'll put that one to the vote. Thank you, councillors, and that is unanimous. The next one is 12.1 WF1. It's the food organics and garden organics. Councillor Proud has pulled this out. I'll go to you, Councillor Perkov, to move recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the committee recommendation on page 101.
Councillor Proud, you'd like to second?
I'd like to second that with a slight amendment. Councillors can see the red context, that council does not approve the current business case for the adoption of a 3-bin food organics, garden organics FOGO system for the City of Stirling as the future of residential waste management at the City of Stirling requires further analysis.
So you're asking to second it with those added words in?
Yes.
It doesn't... I'll just check with the Manager of Governance. To me, it doesn't change the intent of the motion. And so, and do we need a reason for that? So that gives it a reason. Yeah, that's sorry. All right, happy. Councillor Perkov, are you happy to accept that change?
Mayor, if it reads well, I'm happy to accept that
I think so. All it's doing is making it clear that it's the current business case that was presented to council, and it's indicating that the future of residential waste management obviously requires further analysis as it continues to evolve. So I'm happy that it still has the intent of the committee recommendation, if you're happy to move that. So that becomes the substantive motion.
Yep, happy to go with that, Mr. Mayor.
Councillors, is there anyone opposed to that motion? No indication, so I'll put that one to the vote. Thank you. Thank you. And four, we have Councillors Corrado, Dudek, Ferrante, Judici, Hatton, Lagan, Olo, Papard, Perkoff, Proud and myself, and against Deputy Mayor Migdale, noting Councillor Dudek's red tie in support of the red bin system. That's right. There are no other items to be pulled out from the community resource, so we'll go to you for the balance of reports. Chair?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Proud. Okay.
Gee, just jump in early.
I'd like to move the balance of reports as per the committee recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
And Councillor Proud is eagerly seconding you. So that is a balance of reports moved and seconded. I'll put the balance of reports to the vote. I think we're just missing Councillor Olo. The computer doesn't lie, Councillor. Put it near your left hand. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Members of the gallery, those viewers at home, please note that the remainder of those Community and Resources Committee recommendations have been adopted by exception resolution. I'll go to item 13, which is reports for consideration in accordance with section 4.24 of the Meeting Procedures Local Law. And I'll start with 13.1, which is the Electors General Meeting 22-23. Councillors, these will all be put on block unless anyone wishes to pull them out. As noted for those viewers watching, none of the motions that are put from Electors General Meeting are binding on council, but councils may either pull them out and deal with them directly, or in the near future they may also opt to deal with them and put a separate motion out. Councillor Dudek?
I might just ask some advice through you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a general question on a few different motions on the wording. If I might ask it now, I think is more appropriate than pulling any specific ones out.
I'm happy if they're just procedurals, just to ask questions on the wording, just to. I think I know where you're going.
And thank you for answering most of my questions today through the officers. Just wondering on the difference between what notes and what acknowledges means within, as some motions use notes and some use acknowledgements, and they seem somewhat interchangeable, but I just want to get some clarification.
Mr. Blanchard, good question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is a good question. I'm just trying to find an example of acknowledges.
Mr. Dudek will give you an example, I'm sure.
I think the word acknowledges has been used where the city has already noted the elector's motion, and in relation to 9.11.1 it says it acknowledges an existing commitment of the city. You know, we had to choose a word, so I think we used that one.
So it's just relating to acknowledges is where the city has already committed to doing something for the motion, as opposed to noting something that hasn't been. Are you happy with that? I think if you're getting at, is there a difference in the intent in terms of binding council? There's not.
Yeah. And I might just, I don't know if I need to pull it out, just on 9.12./5, if I can ask a brief question.
I'm happy in the interest of trying to make this as easy as possible to let you, if it's just a question about it, to work out if you're going to pull it out, let's deal with it now.
Well, it just raised by Mr. Wheeler's question before, which was that council dealt with it in 2019. It is a somewhat different council now. Is there any, as you said, there's no binding recommendations here. Is there any obligation that perhaps the council should consider it if Elector raises a motion like this?
It's entirely up to you as a council. I believe Councillor Proud may want to pull that one out anyway, so it may be dealt with.
My inkling is that council's feelings are probably still the same as they were in 2019 anyway, so I won't change it myself.
So I'm happy, let's pull that one out. Yeah, because Councillor Proud wants to pull that one out.
Thank you, Mayor. I initially just withdrew it so that I could vote against it. However, I believe it needs a review so that council notes Elector motion 9.12.5
Okay, so let's deal with that one
and
now.
review
We'll do it
and
that way.
reviews it in a certain time frame by the end of the year, perhaps.
Thank you. So we'll pull that one out and just deal with that one straight away. So that's 9. Where are we?
9.12.5.
Now, 9.12.5. With the exception. Okay, no. So we'll deal with this one because we've got it all up on the board. So let's deal. If there's no others to be pulled out, we'll deal with the electors' motions on block. So the recommendation that they be received, with the exception of 9.125, and we'll deal with that in a few moments. So I'll ask for a mover for that motion.
On block?
On block. So Councillor Perkoff has moved that. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Ferrante. So we'll go to that recommendation first. All right, we're getting there. We've got a couple to go. Councillor Papard. Councillor Criado, we need a vote, I believe. Thank you. So that is unanimous. We'll now go to item 9.125, and the recommendation from Councillor Proud is that the council notes electors motion 9.125 and a further report.
No, and a review be undertaken by the end of the calendar year.
Okay, and a review be taken by December 24. I understand what you mean. Is there a seconder for that motion? Deputy Mayor Migdale's happy to second that. No, we just need to remove that takes no further action part out of it. The intent's clear. I don't think we need to debate that tonight. I'm happy to put that straight to the vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Lagan.
Yeah, I have one question. This review is to maintain the wording of 9.12/5, or is there a suggestion that it may be changed?
I think it's just a general review. I don't think it has to be the exact wording. I haven't got the 9.125 in front of me, sorry.
Can I then ask...
Councillor Lagan?
Yeah, can I then ask a question through you to governance? So this motion, although it appears to be quite benign, it's making suggestions about things like memberships to unions, professions. Aren't there rights of association in Australia?
I don't think the intent is that this motion isn't being put to council. Councillor Proud is asking for a review of this, and council and governance to write a report to come back or run a workshop. So it's fairly open.
So I could question in this review at a later date. I could question the arguments that I would like debated about rights of association and protection of privacy.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. And there's a reason we're keeping it general. It'd be silly. I think it would be silly and not in the best interest to debate this now without all the information before you all. So it would make a lot of sense to review it, either workshop or bring a thorough report back for you to be able to ask all those questions. So we'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Hatton, thank you. And that motion is carried, with myself voting against it. Yeah. And I'll go to item 13.2, proposed multiple dwelling development. I believe, yes? I understand. So councillors, we have the two JDAP members who have declared their interest. Councillor Olo and Deputy Mayor Migdale have left the chamber. So we'll now deal with the proposed multiple dwelling development lot 201, house number 39 Chester Avenue. I believe Councillor Giudice has a recommendation or an alt rec.
I do, Mr Mayor. It's on the running sheet that all our councillors have received. I won't read it out, but well, in effect, it's basically seeking for a recommendation to refuse the application based on the 4 reasons that you can see above there.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk to it.
So I think you do have to just read some of it out.
Yep.
If it's only
Okay.
because the officer's report is for recommendation, so it's the completely opposite. That's all.
Correct. All right. Well, for the reasons based on...
So just start with 1. So just make it clear to all council that you're saying that the council does not endorse.
Yep. Yeah. Council, recommends that we don't approve the application at...
Sorry, councillor, can I just get you to... I just need to be clear, because officers have recommended supporting or recommended the city's responsible authority report. I think you've got to be clear that your motion is saying that the council does not endorse the city.
okay.
Yeah, so please just read it.
Yep. That council does not endorse the city's responsible authority report as shown in attachment 1 to the Metro in Development Assessment Panel. And that further, which is point 2, that council recommends to the Metro Inner Development Assessment Panel that DAP application at house number 39 Chester Avenue be refused in accordance with clause 68 of Schedule 2 of the P&D Act, or regs, I should say, of 2015. For the 4 reasons, do you want me to...
Yeah, I think if you can, even if you summarise the reasons, but just again to make it clear.
Is not consistent with the planned built form outcomes for the subject site. Further to that, does not minimise the direct overlooking of adjoining properties. Third point, is not compatible with its setting and will have a significant negative impact on amenity. And finally, in relation to a number of submissions received, or actually the vast majority of submissions received by the community in relation to building height, raised valid concerns with the height, bulk and scale of the development and the visual privacy that those residents will no longer enjoy as a result of the development.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Lagan? Is there anyone opposed? If there is no one opposed, then I will put that recommendation.
No, that's all right. I'll give it to you.
Councillor Proud and Councillor Ferrante. Thank you, and that motion is carried with all councillors voting for it and myself voting against. It's lonely up here. Thank you. Can we ask those 2 councillors to come back in, if maybe we could get one of the officers? Thank you. Just bear with us for a few seconds. We've just got to find those 2 councillors. Thank you. So we're moving on now to item 13.3, International Conference Request, 2024 13th Asia Pacific Conference on Transport and the Environment. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Perkov is moving the recommendation. Is there a seconder for this recommendation? Councillor Ferrante seconding. Is there anyone opposed? Any questions? No. In that case, I will put that recommendation. I think we've got Councillor Ferrante. If we could have you vote, please. Thank you, and that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Brings us to item 14, which is notice of motion for consideration. 14.1, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Thornton. I believe Councillor Proud has been asked.
Thank you. On behalf of Councillor Thornton, that the City of Stirling initiates the process to update the integrated cycling strategy to ensure it reflects current trends and needs in cycling infrastructure in our city.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Migdale will second that. And I will ask for a vote with your hands for this one, please. All those in favour, and that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And we'll go to item 14.2, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Papard. I believe you might have a...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I move my motion as given on the notice paper, please? And I must read it out, I'm guessing.
Yeah, if you can read it out for us.
All right. That
We've
council
got a freeze.
No, council does not approve that.
Just ask for it up on the screen.
If I could have it up on the screen, that might make it
No,
easier.
it's frozen. That's why we're asking you.
That's fine. No, that's fine. That the Mayor writes to the main roads and the relevant members of Parliament to request that the default speed limit on Marmion Avenue be returned to 80 kilometres an hour, and that subsequent changes should only occur after extensive community consultation.
Thank you. Councillor Proud's happy to second that. Is there anyone opposed? No? You may take your seat, Councillor Papard.
Thank you.
Oh. Yeah. You're happy with that? That's a motion you wanted because there's an alt rec there. Yep. No, good. No, happy. No, it's just we got the screen back up and it was just there was an alt rec and I wasn't sure. So, but that's all right. Yours is the actual recommendation. That's right. Yep. No, it's just we don't need a debate whether I'm going to write a letter. Surely, surely we don't need a debate whether I'm going to write a letter. So the motion is that I write a letter to Main Roads. I'm happy to put that to the vote. If we can go to the electronic vote. No, hands still. Sorry, councillors. Let's just go to the vote. That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. I'll go to 14.3, proposed notice of motion from Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation.
Councillors, can I have some quiet while the Deputy Mayor is speaking, please?
Thank you, everybody. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, please.
We're going to have to get you to read it out. We've got some IT issues.
Okay, just bear with me for one moment. Whoops. That on all documentation to residents, which includes any levied costs, including increases, which are to be paid to the state government, the wording clearly states that the payment is being collected by the local authority on behalf of the state government and will be paid to the state government. I so move.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Proud. Is there anyone opposed to that motion? If not, show of hands. Councillors? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 14.4, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Perkov.
Is it on the board? I'll just read it off here. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Should be on page 316, that the City of Stirling formally recognises school students who receive Graduation Day Citizenship Awards with an annual event.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Dudek is happy to second you on that. Is anyone opposed? If not, I'll put that. A show of hands, councillors. That is unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Well done. Brings to item 15, which is notice of motion for consideration at the next meeting. Councillors, do you have any noms for the next meeting? I do. Could I have mine up on the board? Thank you. And my notice of motion is that the public access path ST70 south of Trig Island Surf Lifesaving Club and used by the Trig Trotters be widened and levelled with accumulated sand removed. and that the shared pathway be repaired to an acceptable standard. This work to be completed this financial year as maintenance. And the reason is the pathway is one that is used daily by elderly swimmers and has become exceptionally narrow and hilly due to long-term sand build-up. The shared path is dangerous and beyond reasonable with potholes and worn areas. These should be included in the city's usual maintenance in line with community expectations. Thank you. Item 16, questions by members of which due notice has been given. 16.1, questions on notice by Councillor Olo, so they are in the agenda. No, not unless you've got a specific comment. I know it was obviously done, so it's in the public realm, so that is fine. Item 18, matters behind closed doors. We have nil, and that brings us to 19, which is closure. I declare the meeting closed at 7:29 p.m. Good night to the viewers at home and to those members of the gallery still left. Thank you to city officers and councillors.